Namaste. To those of us who are new to one another, my name is Christianne. Welcome to this little asana practice for alignment, mind and body, and all the other many benefits that come with a well-informed practice. It's a joy to be here with you, and may our time together bring some warmth, as if we were greeted by the sun on a cold day. You would like to add a block, 2 blocks ideally, 2 blankets as well, if possible. Otherwise, we'll make do, so don't worry. And if you do, when you do have those props, take them a little bit out of the way, but within reach. I will bring my blankets, my blocks out to the side like so. I'll take my blankets back behind me so that there's room for you to spread out a little bit, because we're going to start in Shavasana with the arms out so that the armpits have a little bit of breathing room, the legs out so that the pelvic region has a little bit of breathing room as well, and just giving yourselves to gravity. An appreciation for the support of the earth underneath you. And giving all your weight. Perhaps there's weight in thoughts that you have been entertaining. You can give that to the back of the brain, and then let it be supported by the earth. The weight of your shoulders, maybe moving hunched forward a bit, just feeling the back of the shoulders in contact with the ground and letting that weight drop down. The weight of the hips, perhaps from sitting a lot, just feeling that space in the pelvic floor by lying down, giving the weight of tension, of tightness along the abdominal wall down to the earth. And then feel the heels heavy on the ground, and the feet splaying out. And then from here, as you're ready, when you're ready, begin to activate the legs, bringing them together, the toes pointing straight up, like you're in mountain pose. Yeah? So here's your Tadasana. And yet you have that great feedback from the earth behind you to align more completely. Stretching the toes, broadening to the soles of your feet completely. And then let's go ahead and let's reach the arms out forward, plugging the shoulders in and down, and then reaching the arms all the way up over the head, Urdhva Hastasana. And then from here, clasp just your thumbs with the fingertips spread out, so like this. And take a nice deep breath in, all the way down to the pelvic floor. And then on the out breath, begin to arc the legs and the arms to the left as you open the right side of the body. Feel the armpit on the right side expand, the side ribs expand, the waistline, and so on. Breathe space into the right side. And then come back through center. And then open up to the right side. And then feel that new space created on the left side of the body. So you're definitely engaging your muscles here, all the way from your fingertips to the tips of your toes.
but not in a tense manner. Yeah, you just engage in the muscles so that you can discover more space in the body. Coming back through center. And take a nice long deep breath, stretching fingertips out away from the tips of your toes and vice versa. The abdominal wall lengthening towards the chest, towards the chin. And then go ahead and let the whole thing go and return to that more passive feeling of being supported by the earth. And I invite you to bend your legs, feet on the ground. Draw both knees in towards you, place your hands on your shins, and then just create some circular motions, moving the knees apart from one another. Just lubricating the hip joints. They need it. And as you're ready, switch directions. It should be gentle and loving on your low back as well. And then draw the knees back in and do a few spinal rolls as you tilt back and forth. Let it be soothing. So if it feels a little challenging on the back body to be right against the floor as you move in this way, use a blanket, yeah? No harm in that. Use both blankets if you like. Get all the cushion you need. Keep your chin tucked in, back of the neck is toned, space between the shoulder blades opening up. And maybe you even want to combine the two movements and see what happens. Just being playful, getting circulation going, checking in with movement in the body, and switching directions if you're doing this. It should feel playful, should feel effortless, however much or little movement you get to experience with this. And then as you've had enough, go ahead and come on back down just once more, just feeling the support of the earth underneath you. Come back into that corpse pose, Shavasana. And now I'm going to invite you to take one of your blocks, place it out to the side of your hip like so, the other block on the other side. Come back into that Tadasana shape, like you're standing tall, except you have this great luxury of the earth underneath you. Draw your right knee into your chest while keeping that left leg truly engaged. Yeah? So the left leg is strong, the thigh is lifting up, there's no bend on that knee whatsoever. And now you're going to begin to encourage that right leg to come into a 90-degree angle first and foremost, and then open to the side, open to the right. You will feel the block stopping you there. This is a good thing because what I want you to do is just really focus on coming from the inner groin all the way up to the inner knee, all the way down to the inner heel. And I also want you to engage the outer glute, the outer hip, to support a deeper opening. And then, if you feel that you can go further while maintaining that, then slide the block a little bit further out to the side. It's very difficult for you to see, but without turning the left leg out, maintaining the engagement of the left leg as you continue to open in this way, in this 90-degree angle. And then go ahead and bring the arms out to the sides. And look over towards the right fingertips and beyond. Maybe close your eyes for a moment and imagine Virabhadrasana 2, Warrior 2. Imagine that shape. Here you have the support of the earth behind you, the support of the block, encouraging you to engage that right thigh more completely. from both sides, front and back. The support of the earth, keeping that left leg, back leg in this case, of the pose, of the warrior two, the Virabhadrasana two pose engaged. And then as you're ready, come on back. Bring that leg back down. Notice. And then draw the left knee into your chest. And go ahead and engage that right leg fully. So the thigh is lifting up. The knee is strong. There's no bend whatsoever in the leg. And you're pressing out with the inner heel and the mound of that big toe on the right side. And then go ahead and bring that left leg out to the side. But first find that 90-degree angle. Yeah? Engage the leg, bring it out. Bring the block a little closer at first, so that you know that that support is there for you. And then from the inner groin, extend out to the knee, extend out to the heel. Really work that. And then the outer glute, really engage that as well to support the opening. So the more you engage through that outer hip, the more support you will feel to go deeper into the whole opening of the hip. And then bring the arms out again. Gaze over beyond the left fingertips. The middle finger in particular, that's your drishti, your focal point. And while keeping those legs engaged, notice the torso coming straight out of the pelvic floor, even though the legs are asymmetrical. Breathe through that. So maintain the engagement, but find ease as well. Yeah? Like the sunshine that comes unannounced from underneath all the heavy clouds on a really cold day. And then as you're ready, bring that leg back in. You can assist with the arm if you like. Bring it back down. And just take Tadasana first, just to recall the symmetry of both sides. And then release into Shavasana. And here may be a beautiful moment for you to pause the tape and repeat that little routine once more. Yeah, it's a wonderful little warm-up routine for where we're going. We're just going to continue to play with this shape of warrior two. Recognizing the back leg, recognizing the front leg, recognizing the torso, and then bringing it all together. It's a rather accessible pose, yeah? But it's when we are able to do it in the best alignment that is provided to us that we can get the most benefits. So, into the next part of our little practice. Let's go ahead and come into kneeling. And then from here, you're going to take your back leg, whichever one that is, because we're facing one another, so I know it can get a little confusing. You're going to straighten, and so that back leg is straight. And this would be your front leg of your warrior two, which is lovely because you don't have to put in all that effort, yeah? So right now we're just working with the back leg of your warrior pose. Now notice the tendency for the torso to move in the direction of the front leg. It does that, right? Even as we are in the actual, as we find ourselves in the actual pose, the tendency tends to be on hanging onto that front leg, but that's really not at all what we want. We want to be centered, yeah? So let's work with that here. And let's do so by bringing the hands to the hips and encouraging the waistline on that front leg, the bent leg, to lengthen a little more. Yeah? And then really maintaining the engagement of that thigh. In fact, let's just play with this a little bit. Let's do a variation of Ashistasana,
of your side plank pose. If you feel like the earth is a little bit too low, then you can take one of your blocks and use that for support. And here, just allowing from the low abdomen for the movement of the engagement of the muscles there to lift, lift, lift. The back of the neck is toned. Maybe reach the opposite arm up. If this feels too high, then of course, do without the block. If you want to be a little bit playful, reach that leg all the way up, why not? And then you go into a variation of Ardha Chandrasana, always with the length of the torso and the true engagement of that back leg. And then go ahead and come back through. Revisit that shape once more. So envisioning Warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. Just really isolating that back leg. And then go ahead and bring it back to center. If it's hard to be kneeling, that's why we have the blankets, yeah? So feel free to kneel onto the blanket itself. There's no reason to put strain on the joint, yeah, at all. So then here, we come onto the second side. And then again, we notice that we are going to tip towards the front leg, right? But we don't want to do that. So we want to be very much at our center in spite of the asymmetry of the legs. This thigh muscle is lifting up. Of course, when we're in the pose itself, the toes are going to come in more at an angle. So here, bring the arms out to the sides. Breathe. And as we did on the other side, lift a little bit more through the waistline of the front leg. And then fold. And just come into this little variation of Vashisthasana, your side angle pose, or maybe even of Ardha Chandrasana, your half moon pose. Lengthening, 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 back of the neck long. And the leg is really committed. It's very present, happy to be engaged. And then you come on back. Notice the pulsation, the circulation everywhere. Gaze gently beyond the left fingertips. There, find your Christy. Yeah. So here again, doing a second round on your own might be a delightful experience. Yeah, maybe even a third one. And now we're going to move on to awareness of the front leg. So let's take both blocks this time. And let's place them like so. And you'll be standing, say, on your left leg first with the right leg bent. Ideally, you have that 90-degree angle here. So here is your front leg of Warrior 2. Just like we did lying down, you're using those outer glute muscles to support a deeper opening. So without the engagement of those outer muscles, the knee is going to come in, and then your warrior is going to look something like this, putting a lot of strain and pressure on the knee. Yeah? So this is a wonderful way to access that without having to have all that work of the back leg, right? So you're standing in Tadasana on your back leg side, and on the front leg side, you're just focusing on having that support of the outer glute and the inner groin opening up to the knee, and then pressing down on the mount of that big toe, pressing down as you continue to engage. This really works rather quickly and in a fairly safe manner.
So we bring the arms out to connect to the spirit of that pose. You're lifting tall, and you're also rooting down, expanding. And then as you're ready, release that. Notice. And let's play with the second side. So just, you can just turn around, or as I am keeping an eye on you, not really, but I envision you, believe me. It's my motivation for doing this. So here we are on the second side. Outer glute of that front leg engaged, fully engaged. Really, really work those muscles. They're such strong muscles. They love, appreciate being worked. And then from that support, you feel that you can broaden much more through the inner groin, coming all the way down to the inner heel. The mount of that big toe pressing down. And then make sure you're not tipping, right? And you're keeping that length. Just breathe here with this. So that back leg is fully engaged, right? So this is also a wonderful tool to remember how that back leg needs to be. It's as if you're standing on it. Your whole body centered. Really working this, like there's this spiraling action in that front leg. And then you can release that. Hope you feel it, hope you love it, hope you want to do it a second or third time before moving on to the next thing. But if you already are ready for the next thing, you will be the pose itself with all aspects to it. So let's just take our feet wide. We'll start with the feet parallel to one another. The hands at the hips. And then from here, reach the arms out. We're going to turn the toes of the front leg out. We'll begin to come down. And then we're going to bring the toes of the back leg in slightly so that they're at an angle. And then we may want to begin with just observing that back leg and making sure that that thigh stays engaged and it doesn't begin to bend, break like this, which is so easy to do. So just keeping an eye on that. And then here, with the front leg, is the same story that we've done in a couple of different ways already. The outer glute supporting the opening. And then the torso, instead of its tendency to move forward, lift straight up. So remember that arcing around that we did side to side, finding your center from that. And here I welcome you to close your eyes and to observe how you are occupying this shape that you're in. From the back leg to the front leg, to the torso, but also in more subtle ways. The back body. You still imagine the ground behind you supporting you with the back of the neck, back of the head, I should say, and allowing you to lengthen the neck a little bit more. The heels. So accessing that. And then when you're ready, open the eyes, release, and then switch sides. Sides are not always the same. In fact, more often than not, they're quite unique, right? So we just don't put any expectations on either of them, allowing them to expand as they're able. So then here, again, we may want to look at that back leg, make sure that the thigh muscle is engaged, that the toes are slightly at an angle. And then the same story with the front leg, really working that outer glute to open through the inner groin, all the way down to the inner heel. The torso lifting, rising from that as we go into the shape. And then here once more, perhaps closing the eyes. And then as you find yourselves occupying this shape, notice if there's any part of the body that is holding on to tension. Maybe the jaw, maybe the tongue, maybe the eyes. Surely you can let that go. Just let the muscles work. Muscles do the work. Everything else releases with gravity. And then as you're ready, open the eyes and come on back. And you can just pedal your way in. Take Tadasana. Envision the ground behind you. That lifting, that rise to the abdominal wall. Shoulders dropped. Top of the head. Lifting, rising. As if there's an opposing gravity there lifting you up as well. So there's greater length throughout the spine. The eyes open. So from here, provided you have a little bit more time for your practice, going into pigeon pose would be lovely, or any other hip opener that you like. Those of you who have quite open hips, you may want to go into double pigeon pose. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that now for those of you who are interested in taking this a step further. You would bend one leg in a 90-degree angle like so. Place the other ankle on top of the knee of the bottom leg, and then the top knee is going to go right over the heel of that top leg. And so here, it's a great idea to lift your torso up a little bit and just move the flesh out of the way. And you can spend quite a bit of time here, if it's there for you, obviously, right? If not, maybe something like this may feel appropriate, may feel welcoming. And those of you who are quite comfortable here, may even go into a slight restorative, let's say. You would take the blanket, wrap it up, place it inside the little, also known as fire log pose. So place inside a little fire pit, and then lift the abdominal wall up and come around into a more restorative mode. You can use the 2 blocks here to do that. We're just coming into this rounding of the spine, letting go. And staying there longer, much longer if you like, while maintaining the integrity of the base, yeah? And then if you do take the time for this, then you make sure and do the other side as well. So this time the leg that was on top will go down. Again, that 90-degree angle shape, and then the opposite leg. Once more, lifting yourselves up to align, move the flesh out of the way, and then lift the torso up. Maybe here too, you can do the same little variation, or maybe take a little twist, or any twist that feels appropriate for you right now, because we are going to be closing the practice, yeah? So it could be a supine twist, just bring the knee up and around, over, or maybe seated, maybe on a chair. So many ways. Just honoring the length of the spine with the in-breath, and then with the out-breath, revolving. As the side ribs move either back or forward slightly with each out-breath. And then inhaling back to center, wherever you are, whatever shape you've taken. And doing the same thing on the other side, taking the arm out to the opposite leg, finding that midline, and then unraveling from that. If you have a prop up behind you, you can bring yourselves up a little bit more to twist further. You're not forcing with your head in any way. You're just curious about creating more length so that you can revolve from that. And then inhaling back to center. And then doing something more neutralizing. So if you're lying down, you can just hug both knees into the chest. Maybe do a child's pose. Those of us who are seated, you can just come into Dandasana for a moment. Or maybe even Paschimottanasana. And then as you're ready, you can come back into the Shavasana that we did in the very beginning, or maybe do a slight variation of that. I'm going to show you a prone Shavasana today. If you have your two blocks, you can place them like so. And then if you have that second blanket, you can bring it over this way. And then the first blanket, from the Tadasana shape, you fold it up once more, and then yet again. And this will be for the forehead. And you move the forehead down in this shape. Yeah, not like that. It would be very stressful. Here to be calming. And so then you just straddle the prop. And you have breathing space in between the two. And you rest the forehead onto the prop, like so.
giving yourselves the privilege to stay in Shavasana, where you get to do nothing and yet be everything a bit longer, please do. Otherwise, I invite you to slowly bring yourselves, if you're lying in a prone position, use your arms to stretch back into a child's pose. And if you are lying down in a more typical Shavasana pose, like the corpse pose, or Shavasana, supine position, then use the top arm from lying on your side to bring you up into a seated position. Either way, the head is the last thing to come up. So this is a rather unusual Thanksgiving time. And there's tremendous loss. Many of us are not able to celebrate it fully close to our loved ones as we perhaps have for many, many years. And yet, here too is a gem waiting for us to pick it up and make good use of it. And I am referring to the recognition that we can invoke grace through the practice of gratitude. Don't take my word for it. Enjoy a little experiment of being grateful each day. Doing it for a while and seeing the results that come up for you. I did such a practice for 365 days. And it's been a little while now. And yet I'm still reaping the benefits of that. Gratitude is a form of grace. There's no doubt about it. We've all experienced that feeling of appreciation when the sun peeks out from underneath the heavy clouds on a really cold day. It illuminates our hearts, illuminates our minds. So I invite you to take on such a practice. And if you like a specific practice, then this evening, take a moment to recognize one thing that you got to be today. You really appreciate it. Maybe unlike most days, you decided to give your attention to what you were eating during lunchtime, as opposed to remaining plugged into your devices. And then tomorrow morning, before getting out of bed, take a moment to recognize one thing that you could do, an action now, that you'd really appreciate. And maybe that doing would be something like Shavasana, when there's no doing at all, but yet it takes getting there. And then repeat. In the evening, practice of being. In the morning, the next morning, a gratitude practice where you recognize something that you wish to do. And since we do live in a overly stimulating world, it's a wonderful plan to journal your experience. And then come 30 days from now, you find that you are receiving a lot from the practice. Fantastic. Maybe you get to enjoy it for another several months, all the way up to spring. And then as you see the flowers blooming again, and you say, oh, this practice is serving me really well, then you take it on all the way up until next Thanksgiving. That's my offering for you today. Thank you for practicing with me. And I would like now to close with a little blessing from Yogananda. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, Friend, Beloved God, may thy infinite love shine on the sanctuary of our devotion. May we be able to awaken thy love in all hearts. Om peace, shanti, shalom. Amen.